Good morning. Merle was born in South Africa and she lives between Canada, the UK and South Africa. For the past 20 years, she's been co-facilitating mindfulness writing and silent retreats in Norway, France, Italy, the UK, South Africa and Canada. Merle is a published author, a poet, a global facilitator and a lecturer. She has written a book on meditation for children that has been adopted by the Save the Children and World Vision International, and more than 1 million books have been distributed. She has collaborated on a book on the Bushmen of the Kalahari, published in German. She recently graduated with a postgraduate degree in mindfulness-based stress release at Stellenbosch University, medical science faculty, and facilitates mindfulness-based stress release programs. Merle moved from Cape Town sensibly 4 years ago with her husband of 52 years to their home on the shores of the Klein Rivier Lagoon. She is currently writing a book on the third, an opportunity she considers to be the most exciting and fulfilling stage of life. Her latest passion is baking sourdough bread, which I can assure you is delicious, in her wood fire oven. She facilitates online workshops on mindfulness, meditation, poetry, and health. I'd like to introduce my dear friend Merle.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be back. I'm going to share this space with my husband, Geoff, who's going to address the more technical aspects of the topic we're going to discuss today. The topic of mindfulness and meditation. I'd like to begin by perhaps demystifying what is this process called meditation. It's certainly been a part of my life. Geoff and I met 52 years ago. We knew each other for a few weeks and we very quickly decided to get married based on something beyond rational thinking. We just knew we had a journey together, and I've often thought that that kind of knowing probably came from the experience we both had at the time of meditating. And what is meditating? It's just really the process of coming home to yourself, to the truth of who you are. For a lot of people, me included, I thought meditation belonged to some Buddhist monks sitting up in the Himalayas, gazing in a lotus position and saying mantras and achieving enlightenment. And so I hope our talk today will demystify this process, make it something that's very available, applicable, easy to incorporate into your lives. It's a process actually that went through this demystification, you can say, by a doctor of neurobiology, John Kabat-Zinn, who was at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the States, a very scientific thinking person who heard a talk about meditation at MIT in 1979. And he went off on one of these retreats that was being invited to by this talk. And while he was at this retreat, he thought, my goodness, I wonder if there's a way that I can bring this technique, this teaching, this gift into the world in a slightly more scientific terms, maybe medical terms, and take out the religious aspect. And so he came back to his clinic and with a group of doctors and scientists, went into this ancient practice and developed something that they called Mbsr. And that's what we're going to talk about. Mindfulness-based stress release. He used the term mindfulness instead of meditation, because that's something a little more understanding. And they developed an 8-week program. Why 8 weeks? Because neuroscience has shown that in 8 weeks, we can change the brain, make huge shifts by doing simple, consistent exercises. And he found in his clinic that he began to have absolutely fantastic results for people who had had chronic pain, chronic depression, chronic illnesses, conditions that many of his patients had suffered with for a long time, alleviated, became lessened through this process of them going through this 8-week program. And the program has been so successful that it's now practiced by millions and millions of people all over the world, in jails, in schools, in hospitals. And it was through my discovery of this program while I was teaching in Norway that my colleague and I decided that we would seek certification, because Norwegians love people to be certified. We've been teaching meditation for many years, but she enrolled in Italy in the postgraduate program there, and I was very happy to discover that at Stellenbosch University Medical Science faculty, they also run a 2-year postgraduate program in John Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress release. So I just graduated from that a couple of months ago, and I'm really happy to begin to now be able to offer these 8-week programs here in Hermanus to the various communities, perhaps to schools, and perhaps some of you may be interested in other venues going to disadvantaged communities and so on, and begin to see how we can take a simple process of just becoming mindful and how much that influences our lives. So I'd like to begin now with just a very short experience of what I mean by mindfulness, just for a few minutes. I'd like you to sit comfortably, to invite you to, if you want to sit comfortably in your chair and just feel how your chair supports you. Because actually we have support around us. And by connecting to the sense of support we have just by our chair, it reminds us that we are always supported in our lives. So feel the support of your chair. You can be comfortable. I suggest you straighten your spine, because the spine supports the body. When your spine is upright, it enables the breathing capacity to be more free and easy. And what we're going to do is just connect to this very natural process of breathing, making an automatic process a little more conscious. And this is a tool in life. This is what mindfulness is about, just becoming more conscious. So you can leave your eyes open or closed, and Just feel your face relaxing, your jaw, your tongue. Your hands can just rest in a relaxed way on your lap. And just breathe naturally, nothing forced. Try if you can to become conscious of your in-breath and your out-breath. Now, thoughts won't stop. We are constantly thinking. We have within us a mind the Buddhists call monkey mind. So don't worry about if your mind goes off into thoughts. Just gently bring it back to your breathing and try to arrive, be here in this hall or where you are, in your offices, those of you who are on Zoom. Just arrive. There are a lot of things that pull on us in our lives. We may have arrangements to go to after this, or things might have happened before, but let the world out there just dissolve a little bit, go out of focus and turn the lens more just on yourself, on being here, and being with this absolutely natural process of breathing. There's a beautiful poem that I'll say while we're doing this. It's a Buddhist prayer, actually. And it goes like this: rest in natural great peace. This exhausted mind, beaten helplessly by karma and neurotic thoughts. Rest in natural great peace. And just feel how natural it is to be at peace, to let everything out there melt away, and just for this precious moment, connect to yourself and be at peace, and feel a sense of gratitude that you have carved this time out for yourself this morning, this precious hour, just to be with yourself, get to know yourself perhaps in a new way, and to open up to who you are in the most natural way, connecting to this natural process of breathing. Okay, thank you. So there you have it. Mindfulness practice. Simple practice that has so many effects on your body. And the effects are cumulative. The more you do them, the more the practice integrates into your being. So I'd like to give you a little exercise. Clasp your hands together. Okay. Now clasp them with the other finger on top. Does it feel a little bit uncomfortable? A little bit strange? A little bit, it's called the non-dominant position. We all have a dominant way of doing things. And then this is just shows us that there's, hang on, what just happened here? A shift. It feels uncomfortable. Now you might be interested to know that just by doing this little uncomfortable exercise, you have generated new brain cells. And that's what happens. That's what happens in this mindfulness practice. Each time we learn to connect to our monkey mind, which is all over the place, jumping from trees to trees. I always used to tell my Norwegian students, I know about monkeys, you may not, but we in South Africa know about monkeys. and how busy they are, and how they chatter and swing from the branches, and they're constantly active. Well, there's a reason the Buddhists call the mind monkey mind. And this is a thousands of years old religion, practice, philosophy that comes from an understanding that this mind is so full of ideas and thoughts and busyness that we actually disconnect from the truth of ourselves. And the journey of life is not about being busy. It's about being connected to who we are, something that Geoff and I touched on in our last talk when we spoke about the different qualities of beingness, not the doingness. So the act of sitting quietly, connecting to your body. Geoff's going to take us through a body-minded exercise in a little while, and he's also going to explain a little more about the technical aspects of brain research, what happens in the brain when we meditate or when we become mindful. I heard a wonderful story when I was in my studies that John Kabat-Zinn received a lot of acclaim for this program that he put together, but he also received a lot of criticism from people who said he had taken this ancient philosophy that had so many years of work and understanding and reduced it to a self-help technique, which is in a sense what he did do. He was invited to an audience with the Dalai Lama, and he was very nervous to meet him because of this criticism. And one of the teachers in this postgraduate program that I was in knows John Kabat-Zinn very well, and so he heard this story firsthand, that the night before the meeting, he didn't sleep. He walked, and in fact, that's another way of mindfulness. There are many ways. You don't just have to sit in a chair. You can lie down, you can walk, you can drink a cup of coffee mindfully. It's about becoming fully conscious of who you are and what you're doing and how you're being when you're doing it. Anyway, he was nervous about this finally meeting this great teacher who he held in great acclaim. Geoff and I have had the privilege also of attending to conference with. But it finally came the time for his audience with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. And he sat before him and he said, "Your Holiness, I trust from the deepest place in my heart that I have not offended you in any way by the creation of this program." And he said, the Dalai Lama leaned over towards him and said, "Does it relieve suffering?" He said, "Yes, in my experience it does." He says, "That's all that matters." So profoundly shows how compassion is at the core of this teaching, of this practice. Compassion for ourselves, compassion for the world around us, compassion back to ourselves. That's where it begins. Understanding the processes of our own heart and mind, and just coming to be comfortable with that and recognizing that we're doing our best as we navigate through this journey of life, trying to find where we fit in, how we are accepted by others, how we can nourish our families in the best way. we're trying our best. We're doing our best. And this is the real cry in the hearts of all people, longing to be a good person in whatever way helps you survive. Yes, I think I will hand it over to my darling husband, Geoff, and who will take you into a little more of the journey.
There's been an immense amount of research over the years on meditation. As you can imagine, meditation's been around for many hundreds of years. They've done a lot of research as to the effect of meditation, and it's a very practical process. Most of our conditions and our diseases come from stress. So this is the opposite process of de-stressing the body. And it's training the brain, because as Merle spoke about, in terms of the monkey mind, we have to train our brain so that we develop a connection between body and mind. That disconnect is what causes many of our conditions and diseases, because most of us are stuck up here in our thoughts, which we know often are not always in the present. And most spiritual traditions, healing traditions, speak about being present in the now, which affects our neuroplasticity. It changes the brain, it develops gray matter, it increases the prefrontal cortex, which allows us to think more clearly. That's the executive brain, which allows us to function in life in a more effective way, because our thoughts and our mind is focused. It takes us into alpha state from beta. Beta is our normal functioning state where our mind is busy and we're doing lots of things. Before we go to sleep, pre-sleep, we go into this relaxed state of alpha, and then further into theta and delta, deep sleep. So meditation and other tools that I'm going to talk about help to take us into those states. It helps with our neurotransmitters and hormones. Neurotransmitters, I don't know if you know much about them, such as serotonin and GABA. Those are calming neurotransmitters, and decreases cortisol, which is what our stress hormone. So it works on the hormones, works on neurotransmitters. So it's just a very practical tool to come into ourselves, into presence, as Merle said. So I thought I'd take you through one of the tools that is used to help increase the mind-body connection. That is called body scan. Because as I said, most of us are disconnected from our body. And if we recognize that we are energetic by nature, because all of life is energy, we sometimes are dissociated from our body, particularly if we've gone through trauma in our lives where we've left ourselves. So body scan and meditation, which, as Merle said, can be done walking, standing, sitting, help to bring us back to our center. And that's often what we use for somebody who is centered, or we feel sometimes scattered, which means we have left our center. Not in a political sense, but I'll take you through a little body scan and demonstrate to you how just becoming present in the body, which is not a particular thing we do regularly. Most of us are quite disconnected. So how it feels when we are present in our bodies. So I'm going to ask you once again to come back, Get comfortable. And breath, by the way, I think all traditions use the breath because the breath is our connection with the energy around us, connection with ourselves. It's a very powerful tool to focus the mind. So I'm not going to focus too much on the breath, but I'd like us to start with just even breathing in and out. Just find your rhythm and cross your legs and cross your arms if you can, so that your energy can flow freely through the body. And what I'm going to invite you to do is take your awareness, your attention, down to your left foot. So literally journey down there. Be in your left foot and feel your toes and the space between your left toes and your left foot and the ball of the foot, the sole, the heel, with a sense also of gratitude for what the feet provide us. Helps us to move around, which we have taken for granted so much. To the ankle, the top of the foot. And as you do that, you may begin to feel a certain heightened energy. And slowly come up from the left ankle, through the calf muscles, shins, up into the knee, and journey around the knee. It's a very complex joint. With a deep sense of gratitude for the ability of the knee to function flexibly, help us move and dance and walk. Moving the energy up from the knee, through your hamstrings and your thighs, up to the hips. So you're fully present within the left leg. Now, what I'd like you to take notice of, feel the left leg in comparison to the right leg right now. And if you can just give me a show of hands or finger, if they feel different. It feels more alive, doesn't it? The right leg in comparison is quite dead because we've become present in that part of the body. So now let's go back to the right foot, not back but forward. Toes, the ball of the foot, the sole, the heel, fully present there. Travel around the ankle, which is again a very complex series of tendons, joints. Coming up the leg, calf muscles, shins, the bone, the muscles, the nerves. Becoming aware of the totality of that part. Journeying up to the right knee. And moving up from the knee slowly. The thighs, hamstrings. Up to the right hip. And now take note of both of your legs. And you'll probably discover that they are now both alive because we are present there. And now just journey around the pelvic floor, the genitals, the sits bones, giving it great thanks for the many hours that we sit and we are supported. And now let's move up the back, the spine. The spine is one of the most important pathways of communication in the body, through which the central nervous system, cerebral spinal fluid flows. So moving from the coccyx into the sacrum, being present there, and into the lumbar spine, lower back. Just become conscious in the muscles around the spine and the back, bringing it to life. Moving up the thoracic spine, the mid-back. Visualizing each vertebra, the discs between, the movement of the nerves and fluids, moving up to the upper back, to the upper thoracic, the cervical spine, the neck. And you may find that if you've had tension in the neck, the shoulders, in the back, that as we do that, everything begins to relax. So now let's go down the shoulders to the arms, to the elbows, down to the hands, the fingers. Coming back up the arms, we'll go down to the front of the body. Just take you through this fairly quickly. The belly, very important part where we hold tension. And coming up into the upper thoracic cavity, the ribs, the lungs, heart. And feel the breath, feel the lungs expanding and contracting. Back of the neck, the top of the head, down the forehead, eyes relaxing, the brow relaxing, nose, cheeks, mouth, chin. And you may find in this very short exercise, which is simple to do on a regular basis, you can do the whole thing in a minute once you've practiced. Just brings the body into presence. Puts us into an alpha state, alpha wave, calms the neurotransmitters, stress. So I'll turn it back to Merle. How does it feel? Is it feeling calm? And just breathe out all the stress that is accumulated. Breathe it down to the earth and give your body deep thanks for bringing you here for a start and for everything it's done.
Obviously, this is not a panacea, a cure-all for all our challenges in life. This is just a tool. This morning in my kitchen, I used a pair of scissors to open one of those plastic containers, you know, the plastic bags that look so easy just to slip the top of it off. And I don't know about you, but as I get older and my wrists become weaker, I just can't open those so easily. So I reached into my drawer and took a pair of scissors. And I thanked Leonardo da Vinci for inventing the scissors. Can you imagine life without a pair of scissors? Such a tool. Not going to solve all the problems of my day, but certainly made that moment and that experience of cooking breakfast a lot more enjoyable. Meditation, mindfulness, it's just a very practical tool. It was not invented, it is part of who we are. And as we said in our talk a couple of weeks ago, we in the third age have this incredible privilege of time. Time that can be a blessing, can also be a curse, because our monkey mind loves to be distracted, wants to be busy, wants to be doing, thinking, creating. But actually, just to sit and be, and connect to yourself, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, that nourishes the essence of who you are, not only for your own awareness, but this is part of the legacy of what you leave to your family and your community. It's not what we do that's so important. It's who we are. That's what touches people. And I quoted a little quote last time that I love, and that the American poet laureate Maya Angelou said. I don't know if you know her. She read a poem at Clinton's inauguration. Beautiful black woman with a lot of power. And she sent this out to social media on her 80th birthday. She said, "When I die, you will not remember what kind of car I drove or how successful I was, how tidy my kitchen was, how good I was at doing this or that. What you will remember is how you felt when you were with me." And that's presence. That's what touches people. How they feel when they're with you. And this comes from a sort of emanation of who you are. It's subtle, it's chemical. And the practice of mindfulness is what nourishes this connection to the truth of who you are, the essence that you bring to your life, to your world, and your family, your loved ones, your community. So I hope by sharing a little of this, we've done justice to John Kabat-Zinn, to whom I give a deep bow of thanks. You know, he does not take a penny of royalties for any of this work. It's his gift to humanity. And it's been a most extraordinary gift, helping to alleviate suffering in the lives of many, many people. Suffering at all levels. Anxiety is suffering. Sleepless nights, worrying about family is suffering. Challenges at any level can cause suffering. And the purpose of just engaging with ourselves in this way has been proven to alleviate suffering. So I really invite you to try it out. When you take your cup of coffee in the morning, sip that coffee mindfully, not while you're reading the paper or watching TV. Let it be a mindful practice. That's if you're sitting in a doctor's room and the doctor or the dentist is keeping you waiting, use that time. Connect to yourself. Connect to your breathing. Connect to this act of just coming close to yourself. We carry our breath with us wherever we are. If you're in a traffic jam, I mean, we have this great gift of stop and go on the R43, where a trip to town used to take 10 minutes, and now sometimes it takes 25 minutes. Wonderful opportunity. I just sit in the car and look up at the mountains, gaze into the air, connect, use that time. Your breath is a wonderful tool. It's with you. Most of the time, it's just an unconscious process. So the act of becoming conscious of breathing is a way to practice mindfulness, to increase the neuroplasticity of the brain. It doesn't happen with doing it once in a while. It's a practice. This is the kind of way we begin to incorporate into our lives as a tool for happiness. Walking meditation is wonderful. And there's a whole movement now called grounding or earthing. I don't know if you know. But they suggest walk bare feet on the earth. We're so blessed. We have the beaches, and some of you have lawns. Try to walk bare feet on the earth. And as you do so, let it be a mindful experience. Feel how your feet bless the earth, the tracks you make in the sand, how they come and go, the tracks you might step into another person's tracks on the sand. Suddenly, a walk takes on a whole new possibility of being a mindful practice. Yeah, so we have some time for questions. If anyone has any questions or comments for either Geoff or me. I didn't really introduce Geoff. My apologies to you, but I would just like to say that Geoff is a former architect who then went on to a career in natural medicine, became a doctor of natural medicine, developed a system of healing that he has spent the last 20 years traveling the globe and teaching. And so when he speaks about the power of meditation, he does so with a lot of his own experience. He healed himself from a very serious illness and went on to create a new life for himself. As we said last time, recently he had quite a severe bout of COVID pneumonia, which thank God he's healed from, came through. So any questions?
Would you like to come up here and ask your question?
Thank you. I just recently, through Mary, my wife, met Geoff and Merle. What wonderful people. And thank you for a wonderful talk today, to giving us an insight into mindfulness. And our life is so rushed. Life is, we need to slow down and, enjoy every moment of our life. And Geoff, you went through hell with the COVID. We know that. How did COVID influence you? How did you think about mindfulness while you were lying there seriously struggling to breathe? Can you give us some sort of insight in your feeling?
Thanks, Sean. It was a very powerful experience of mindfulness because I had to focus on one breath at a time, which for some period of time I struggled with. So it was life or death. I had to be in meditation all the time and focus one breath. And it's an amazing exercise which we don't need COVID to do that with. So if you just focus on the breath to bring you into the present moment, and that experience increased my awareness. My body was ailing, of course it was suffering, but my mind was very, very alive and vibrant and free. And I knew I would come out of it. The doctors weren't so confident. But that was, thank you for the question, John. That was a most powerful experience for me, is just being present. I couldn't think of anything else because your life depends on it. So if you could breathe as if your life depended on that, each breath focusing on the now helps a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Geoff. Phil, come up, please.
I practice mindfulness, and it's something that's so easy to do here in Mindfulness is to observe the trees. Wherever you are, there is such a variety of trees, and you don't realize it until you start looking. You know, and just look at the shapes and the colors and the way they move in the wind. And it is just such an easy and such a practical and such a lovely way to practice mindfulness.
Could I just say thank you to Merle and to Geoff. It really is a privilege to have you come and share your insights and your experience and your guidance with us. Thank you very, very much.